Good evening. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Renu Kataria with the evening news. The headlines. Lok Sabha resumes discussion on motion of thanks to President's address to both houses of Parliament. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu lauds disruption-free proceedings in the upper house yesterday. Campaigning intensifies for the first two phases of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. Health Ministry says 34 states and UTs are recording a decline in COVID-19 cases and positivity rate. Supreme Court refuses to postpone this year's Graduate Aptitude Test in Engineering GATE 2022 exams amid third wave. India expresses concern over politicizing of Beijing Winter Olympics by China. New Delhi says it is committed to extending humanitarian assistance to people of Afghanistan. And Met Department warns of heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh till tomorrow. As the number of COVID-19 cases is rising fast in several parts of the country, we appeal to our listeners to be vigilant and to get fully vaccinated and help others, including children between 15 and 18 years, get vaccinated. With the new Omicron variant of coronavirus causing concern, please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The Lok Sabha resumed discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address this afternoon. Participating in the discussion, Rajiv Ranjan Singh of the JDU said backward states need to be developed on a priority basis for India to become a global leader. Pinaki Mishra of the BJD said oil prices have a cascading effect on inflation, which needs to be looked into by the government. Nama Nageshwara Rao of the TRS demanded a national policy on paddy procurement. Rajiv Pratap Rudi of the BJP said health insurance has reached even the country's farmers and the poorest of the poor. He said the centre's effort to roll out 5G will open up greater opportunities for the youth. Meanwhile, DMK members resorted to sloganeering by trooping into the well of the House. Manikam Tagore of Congress charged the centre with discrimination. Dr. Sujay Vikhe Patil of the BJP said flagship programs like Startup India and Atmanirbhar Bharat initiatives are being promoted by the centre in a cooperative spirit. The discussion is continuing. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu has lauded the disruption-free proceedings for the whole day in the upper house yesterday. He urged the members to let that spirit prevail for the remaining part of this budget session and in the future as well. Making observations in this regard in the House today, Mr. Naidu highlighted the advantages of smooth functioning of the House.
Rajya Sabha witnessed a disruption-free proceedings after a long gap. It was delightful to watch quality debate on the motion of thanks to the President. Debate yesterday were marked by effective assertion of the achievements of the ruling party on one side and the contestation by opposition members on the other side. This is the advantage of smooth functioning of the House.
The Rajya Sabha witnessed disruption-free proceedings during the debate on the motion of thanks to the President's address after 41 sittings spread across 4 sessions and after about a year. The last such normal disruption-free sitting was held on the 19th of March last year during the budget session. The last disruption-free full session of the Rajya Sabha was held in June 2009 when ministers of the UPA government were introduced in the upper house.
The election campaign has intensified for the first 2 phases of the 7-phase assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and also for the single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. The star campaigners and prominent leaders of various political parties are engaged in public rallies after finalization of the candidates for the first 2 phases in Uttar Pradesh. The door-to-door canvassing and virtual appeals to the voters also continue. More from our Lucknow correspondent.
Senior BJP leader and Union Home Minister Amit Shah campaigned for party candidates in Ghaziabad and Bulandshahr districts. Addressing the gathering, Amit Shah said that in Yogi government, law and order improved and people are feeling safe now. Congress General Secretary Priyanka Gandhi Vadra held roadshow in different constituencies of Bulandshahr. Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav and President of Rashtriya Lok Dal, Jayant Chaudhary, together held Samajwadi Vijay Yatra in Bulandshahr district. AIMIM Chief Asaduddin Owaisi campaigned for party candidates in Hapur district. On the other hand, Deputy Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh and BJP candidate from Siratu constituency in Kaushambi district, Keshav Prasad Maurya, today filed his nomination. BJP National President JP Nadda along with other party leaders were present on the occasion. Polling at this seat will be held in fifth phase of elections in state. Minister in Yogi government Siddharth Nath Singh also filed his nomination from Allahabad West seat. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
During the first of 7-phase assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh, mostly multi-cornered contests are on cards and there are 623 candidates in fray for 58 seats included in this phase. In the initial phase, 58 assembly constituencies, including 9 reserved for the scheduled caste, will go to polls on 10th of February. The second phase of polling in Uttar Pradesh will be conducted on 14th of February in 55 assembly constituencies from 9 districts, including 9 seats reserved for the scheduled caste. In addition, the single-phase polling in 2 states, Goa and Uttarakhand, will be held simultaneously. 40 seats in Goa and 70 seats in Uttarakhand will go to polls together in this phase. The general elections to Manipur Legislative Assembly will be held in 2 phases. The Office of Chief Electoral Officer Manipur has been taking all steps to conduct the polls in free, fair and smooth manner. A report from our Imphal correspondent.
The first phase of general election to Manipur Legislative Assembly will be held on 27 February and filing of nomination paper will be continued in 8 February. The polls of Tipaimuk Assembly constituency will be held in the first phase. The polling station in terms of least voters lies in Tipaimuk AC. Phaibok Munte polling station have only 50 voters. Phaibok Munte village is inhabited by Mar community and the village is more than 600 km far away from Imphal. JJ Thoksom, AIR News, Imphal.
The Health Ministry today said 34 states and UTs in the country are recording a decline in COVID cases and positivity rate. Briefing media in New Delhi, Joint Secretary in the Ministry Love Agarwal said 16 states and UTs have achieved 100% first dose COVID vaccination coverage and 4 states and UTs between 96 to 99%. Meanwhile, Kerala and Mizoram are witnessing an increase in the number of cases and positivity. The Health Ministry said the present data indicates that unlike evidence during earlier COVID waves, surgery is safe with the current variant. Those patients who need surgery can go for it, as the new variant is not associated with higher chances of complications or deaths in COVID-positive patients.
पुराने समय में एक डेटा बताया गया था कि कोविड-19 के जो पेशेंट्स हैं वे कुछ समय तक सर्जरी अवॉइड करें क्योंकि हो सकता है उनका रिस्क एलिमेंट थोड़ा बढ़ चुका हो, लेकिन जो प्रेजेंट एविडेंस अभी इस वाले समय में इस पर्टिकुलर वेरिएंट में जो नोट की जा रही है कि सर्जरी सेफ है और किसी भी तरह की हायर चांसेस ऑफ कॉम्प्लिकेशन और डेथ से रिलेटेड नहीं है। इसलिए वह पेशेंट जो कोई भी अपनी सर्जरी कराना चाहे, चाहे वो कोविड पॉजिटिव हो चाहे कोविड-19 हो, उनको हमें डिनाई करने की या उनको रेगुलेट करने की शायद आवश्यकता नहीं रहेगी और वह समय पर अपनी सर्जरी करा सकते हैं।
Joint Secretary in the Education Ministry also briefed media and said schools have fully opened in 11 states, partially for higher classes in 16 states and are closed in 9 states. According to the salient features of the revised guidelines for reopening of schools, states will decide whether schools will be required to take the consent of students' parents for attending physical classes. India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 168 crore 40 lakh mark. The Union Health Ministry said over 94 crore 63 lakh vaccine doses have been administered as the first dose and more than 72 crore 38 lakh vaccine doses given as second dose. It said more than 50 lakh vaccine doses were administered today. The ministry said more than 1 crore 38 lakh precautionary doses have been administered to the eligible beneficiaries so far. Over 4 crore 82 lakh children have received the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine till date. The national recovery rate is currently at 95.14%. The Supreme Court today refused to postpone this year's graduate aptitude test in engineering GATE 2022 exams amid the third wave of the coronavirus disease. The apex court pointed out that delaying the exams might lead to chaos and uncertainty among students. The court also pointed out that the first and second COVID-19 waves were different from the third, and in recent times, as many as 20 exams conducted by government bodies had to be postponed similarly. With a green signal from the top court, the GATE 2022 exams will now be held physically as per schedule. The Supreme Court today deferred hearing a petition seeking a review of its 15th May 2018 order that absolved the Punjab Congress President Navjot Singh Sidhu with a 1,000 rupee fine in a 1988 road rage case in which a resident of Patiala, Gurnam Singh, had died. The court will hear the petition on February the 25th now. A special bench of Justices A.M. Khanvilkar and Sanjay Kishan Kaul adjourned the hearing on a request made by senior advocate P. Chidambaram on behalf of Sidhu.
An Australian newspaper, the Klaxon, has claimed that China's losses in the 2020 Galwan Valley border clash with India were much higher than reported. According to the newspaper's report, the confrontation between the two nations witnessed many Chinese soldiers drowning while crossing a fast-flowing sub-zero river in darkness. Following the hand-to-hand combat, China has repeatedly refused to disclose its total casualties. However, in February last year, China officially acknowledged that 5 Chinese officers and soldiers were killed in the clashes, the paper also claimed. India today said it is regrettable that China has chosen to politicize the Winter Olympics. Replying to media queries on reports of China making Galwan soldier the torch-bearer at the sporting event, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said the chargé d'affaires of the Indian Embassy in Beijing will not attend the opening or closing ceremony of the Beijing Winter Olympics.
The Chinese side has chosen to politicize an event like the Olympics. I wish to inform that our chargé d'affaires of the Embassy of India in Beijing will not be attending the opening or the closing ceremony of the Beijing 22 Winter Olympics.
Replying to another query on torture of a boy from Arunachal Pradesh by Chinese PLA, Mr. Bagchi said India has taken up the issue with the Chinese side. External Affairs Ministry today said government is committed to extending humanitarian assistance to the people of Afghanistan. Briefing media this evening, Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said the process to procure wheat and to arrange its transportation is still underway. Replying to another query, the spokesperson said the meeting of Quad Foreign Ministers is expected to be held later this month in Melbourne. The Quad Foreign Ministers last met virtually in February last year. India and the UK held consultations of the United Nations in Delhi at the Joint Secretary level. Briefing media, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Arindam Bagchi said both sides briefed each other about the respective priorities in the UN Security Council. Discussions focused on issues relating to the agenda of the UNSC, particularly counter-terrorism, peacekeeping and reforms of the UNSC. They also exchanged views on the current regional and global developments. You are listening to the evening news on All India Radio. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle @AIR News Alerts.
अपने बिजनेस को बढ़ाने के लिए लीजिए आकाशवाणी का सहयोग और दीजिए उसे बुलंदियों के पंख।
आपका बिजनेस लोकल है या राष्ट्रीय, आकाशवाणी देती है उपभोक्ताओं तक पहुंचने का हर विकल्प।
और अब तो आप घर, दफ्तर या दुकान पर बैठे बैठे कर सकते हैं आकाशवाणी के किसी भी केंद्र के लिए विज्ञापनों की बुकिंग।
आकाशवाणी के विभिन्न चैनलों पर विज्ञापन देना सुलभ और सस्ता।
बुकिंग है तो संपर्क करें 8700014242 पर।
8700014242।
Now here is a review of proceedings in Parliament today. First from the Lok Sabha, writer is Achinta Bora of PTI. The Lok Sabha has resumed discussion on the motion of thanks on the President's address. Participating in the debate in the Lok Sabha, Pinaki Mishra of BJD said the President in his address on the first day of the budget session talked about maintaining democratic values. Rajiv Ranjan Singh of JDU sought special status for Bihar and said such a decision will help Bihar overcome its backwardness and unemployment. He highlighted the achievements of the Nitish Kumar government and said the JDU BJP government is ahead of other states in various development initiatives in the state. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary of Congress said the country has been facing the serious problem of unemployment and sought immediate action from the government. 3 MPs from Rajasthan have raised the alleged scam in conducting the Rajasthan eligibility examination for teachers, REET, in the Lok Sabha and claimed that large-scale anomalies have taken place in the test and sought a probe by the CBI into it. Rajya Singh Rathore of BJP alleged there has been no appointment for the posts of teachers in Rajasthan for the last 4 years, but a big scam has taken place in conducting the REET. He said that several lakh youths have applied for 31,000 teachers' posts, but massive cheating has taken place in the exam and sought immediate action. Another BJP MP, Jaskaur Meena from Rajasthan, said the REET examination should be cancelled immediately and a probe should be ordered through the CBI. Another MP from Rajasthan, Hanuman Beniwal, raised the issue and he also demanded a CBI probe should be instituted to find out the irregularities in the REET examination. Discussion is continuing in the Lok Sabha.
And now review of proceedings in Rajya Sabha. Writer is Sanjeev Chopra of PTI. The Rajya Sabha today resumed normal disruption-free functioning with members participating in the debate on the motion of thanks on the President's address to the joint session of Parliament. Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu expressed happiness over the development during the current budget session and hoped the MPs should let that spirit prevail for the rest of the session. He said after a long time, Rajya Sabha witnessed disruption-free proceedings yesterday and it was a delight to watch quality debates on the motion of thanks to the President's address. He said the debates were marked by the effective assertion of achievements by the ruling party members on the one hand and contestation by opposition members on the other. The upper house resumed the debate on the motion of thanks with Union Minister Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi leading the charge from the ruling party side. Referring to remarks made by the opposition that there are two Indias, Naqvi said we need to get out of the hangover of the thinking that Indira is India and India is Indira and Congress is country and country is Congress. He alleged that India has changed and the country has a strong Prime Minister now. He said the credibility and commitment of the institution of Prime Minister has been restored now. Mr. Naqvi also claimed that the politics of cuts, corruption and appeasement is over and there are no pressures of middlemen or nepotism in this government. Naqvi also claimed that the Prime Minister has also ended the VIP culture of using red lights and government subsidies are now reaching out to the beneficiaries through direct benefit transfer. He said the Prime Minister has also helped people in distress during the pandemic when 80 crore people were given free ration. He also listed out several schemes brought out by this government to benefit people and highlighted the bold actions taken by the Narendra Modi government that include surgical strikes against Pakistan and abrogation of Article 370 in Jammu and Kashmir, besides new laws like the law to end triple talaq. He said the quota system has been finished by this government that existed during previous regimes and people standing at the end of the line are now being handheld and uplifted through various government initiatives and schemes. A number of members participated in the debate.
Members raised various issues, including the early appointment of the next Chief of Defence Staff CDS, giving exemption to Tamil Nadu students from NEET examinations and higher investments in Assam. Participating in the debate, A.D. Singh of RJD said he was disappointed that such a sensitive post like Chief of Defence Staff was lying vacant since the tragic accident. He urged the government to find a successor to General Bipin Rawat. Raising the issue of continuous attack on Tamil fishermen from neighbouring Sri Lanka, M. Thambidurai of AIADMK said he hopes the government will take a firm policy decision to safeguard the interests of our fishermen and protect their livelihood. Supporting the motion, Virendra Prasad Desha of AGP praised the Modi government for steps taken for the development in the health, infrastructure, agriculture and sports arena. He thanked the government for improving railway connectivity to the northeastern region. Digvijay Singh of Congress alleged the gap between the rich and the poor has increased under the current government. He also called for imposing a super-rich tax on those whose income has grown even during the COVID pandemic. Sasmit Patra of BJD hit out of the centre saying it had ignored the demand of Odisha Chief Minister Naveen Patnaik to include 6 lakh tribal families in the state under the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin. He also accused the centre of ignoring procurement of rice from farmers of the state. Earlier, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu said he is examining the privilege motions moved against Union Minister for Information Technology Ashwini Vaishnav for misleading Parliament on the Pegasus issue. After examination, a clarification will be sought from the minister, he said. Earlier during zero hour, a demand was made by Elamaram Karim of the CPIM that the centre should expeditiously give its nod to a proposed nearly 64,000 crore rupee semi-high-speed rail line connecting two ends of Kerala. K.C. Venugopal of the Congress alleged that the Kerala government was bulldozing the project without the environment clearance, even as the entire people of Kerala are against this. A demand for OBC census was also made in the House by B. Lingaya Yadav of TRS, while M. Shanmugam of DMK sought a higher gratuity limit of 20 lakh rupees be provided to those employees who retired in the intervening 27 months when the 7th Central Pay Commission doubled the ceiling to 20 lakh rupees from January the 1st, 2016 and the modification of the Gratuity Act on March the 20th, 2018. Rakesh Sinha, nominated member, raised the issue of non-development of the Kabar Lake, a wetland of international importance located 22 kilometers northwest of Begusarai town in Bihar. Amar Patnaik of BJD alleged that stepmotherly treatment was being meted out to Odisha by denying the addition of 6.65 lakh houses for the tribal population. His party colleague Sujit Kumar said the centre should show a non-partisan attitude and do the same for Odisha. Shakti Singh Gohil of Congress demanded the inclusion of Kutchi, an Indo-Aryan language spoken in the Kutch region of Gujarat, in the 8th schedule of the Constitution. Shantanu Sen of TMC said a part of Jammu and Kashmir has been demarcated in a different colour than the rest of India on a map hosted by the WHO's COVID website. Jose K. Mani of Kerala Congress demanded that rubber and spices be given agriculture produce status and a mechanism be set up to declare minimum support price every 2 years, while Subhash Chandra Singh of BJD sought a reduction in GST on tendu leaf collection. Vikas Mahatme of BJP wanted tax collected on the sale of sin goods like alcohol and tobacco to be used for creating public awareness against the use of such products and to treat addicts. And that is all in Parliament Review.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Hyderabad on 5th of this month. He will visit the International Crops Research Institute for the Semi-Arid Tropics campus in Pattancheru, Hyderabad, and kickstart the 5th anniversary celebrations of the institute. In the evening, Prime Minister will dedicate the Statue of Equality in Hyderabad to the nation. The 216 feet tall Statue of Equality commemorates the 11th century Bhakti saint Sri Ramanujacharya, who promoted the idea of equality in all aspects of living, including faith, caste and creed. The statue is made of Panchaloha, a combination of 5 metals. These are gold, silver, copper, brass and zinc. It is among one of the tallest metallic statues in sitting position in the world. It is mounted on a 54 feet high base building named Bhadra Vedi. It has floors devoted for a Vedic digital library and research center, ancient Indian text, a theatre, an educational gallery detailing many works of Sri Ramanujacharya. The statue has been conceptualized by Sri Chinna G.R. Swami of Sri Ramanujacharya Ashram. Mr. Modi will also visit the identical recreations of 108 Divya Desams that surround the Statue of Equality. Petroleum Minister Hardeep Singh Puri has appealed to the state governments to decrease VAT on fuel prices so that rates will go down. Replying to questions in the Lok Sabha on the issue of rising fuel prices, Mr. Puri said that the prices on diesel and petrol depend on international crude prices. He said between 2014 and 21, the fuel prices increased by only 30%. He said the prices of fuel were deregulated by previous government. The minister said the current central government decreased the prices of petrol by 5 rupees and diesel by 10 rupees. At the stock markets, the Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange slumped 770 points to end at 58,788 today. The Nifty at the National Stock Exchange plunged 220 points to 17,560. Best wishes to all consumers for Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. Hallmark ensures purity of gold. Always purchase hallmarked gold jewellery. For any consumer-related complaints, please contact National Consumer Helpline's toll-free number 14404. Issued in public interest by Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Jago Grahak Jago.
Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Thakur today said the government is implementing the Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Welfare Fund for Sportspersons scheme. The minister said in a written reply in the Rajya Sabha that the scheme provides for grant of suitable financial assistance to outstanding sportspersons now living in indigent condition, medical treatment, procurement of sports equipment, participation in national and international events. Assistance under this fund is demand-driven and financial assistance is provided to eligible players based on applications. Under this scheme, financial assistance of over 2 crore 54 lakh rupees has been released to 78 athletes and former athletes and coaches from April 2020 to January this year. This also includes the sportspersons who requested to provide financial assistance for the situation due to COVID-related issues. In the ICC Under-19 Cricket World Cup in Antigua, 4-time champions India will face England in the final on Saturday and will be aiming to extend their dominance in the competition. India produced an all-round display to eke out a comprehensive 96-run win in the semi-final against Australia yesterday. Captain Yash Dhull led the side from the front and scored a brilliant 110 in the same number of balls to help India pile 290 for 5 after electing to bat first. Chasing 291, Australia were bowled out for 194 in 41.5 overs, with Vicky Oswal taking 3 wickets while Nishant Sindhu and Ravi Kumar picked up 2 wickets each. The West Indies-India ODI series begins on the 6th of February. The first match will be played in the Narendra Modi Stadium in Motera. The ODI will be a very special and historic match as India will be playing its 1000th ODI. The Indian team will be the first cricket team in the world to achieve this feat.
Met Department has warned of heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh till tomorrow. India Met Department has issued an orange alert for Uttarakhand due to forecast of heavy to very heavy snowfall in the hills and rainfall in most parts of the state tomorrow. It said Dehradun, Haridwar, Pauri and Tehri districts are likely to witness hail and lightning. Cold wave conditions have intensified in Himachal Pradesh as most of the higher reaches of the state are experiencing fresh snowfall, while many parts of the state are receiving rain since this morning. Now let us take a look at the weather forecast for tomorrow. The national capital Delhi is likely to have generally cloudy sky with light rain or drizzle. The temperature will vary between 10 and 19 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have fog or mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later. The minimum temperature will be 13 degrees Celsius, while the maximum is expected to be around 24 degrees. Chennai is likely to have fog or mist in the morning and partly cloudy sky later. The temperature will vary between 21 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have partly generally cloudy sky with a few spells of rain or thunder showers. The city will observe a minimum temperature of 17 degrees Celsius and a maximum of around 24 degrees. Srinagar will have generally cloudy sky. Temperature will hover between 0 and 6 degrees Celsius. Jammu will have generally cloudy sky. The minimum temperature will be 10 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be around 17 degrees. Leh is likely to witness overcast sky. The minimum and maximum temperature will hover between -14 and -2 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have overcast sky. The temperature will hover between 2 and 13 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have partly cloudy sky. The minimum temperature will be 5 degrees Celsius and maximum will be around 18 degrees. Visakhapatnam will have partly cloudy sky with haze. The city will observe a minimum temperature of 22 degrees Celsius and a maximum of around 29 degrees. Hyderabad will witness fog or mist in the morning and mainly clear sky later. Temperature will hover between 18 and 32 degrees Celsius. Imphal will have generally cloudy sky with a few spells of rain or thunder showers. The city will observe a minimum temperature of 7 degrees Celsius and a maximum of around 18 degrees.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Lok Sabha resumes discussion on motion of thanks to President's address to both houses of Parliament. Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu lauds disruption-free proceedings in the upper house yesterday. Campaigning intensifies for the first 2 phases of assembly elections in Uttar Pradesh and single-phase polls in Goa and Uttarakhand. Health Ministry says 34 states and UTs are recording a decline in COVID-19 cases and positivity rate. Supreme Court refuses to postpone this year's graduate aptitude test in engineering GATE 2022 exams amid third wave. India expresses concern over politicizing of Beijing Winter Olympics by China. New Delhi says it is committed to extending humanitarian assistance to people of Afghanistan. And Met Department warns of heavy rain and snowfall in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh till tomorrow. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the evening news. Good night.